Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to my crochet channel. I'm super excited about today's video because today's video is our 5th video for our 5-spice throw blanket crochet along. And just in case you don't know what we've been doing, is we have a crochet along going using the 5 3-weight Pioneer Woman yarns, and as far as I know, you can only get them at Walmart or on Walmart.com. I have seen them, like I said earlier, on eBay and on Amazon, where people have bought them and then they're charging a higher price. I did find also, if your Walmart doesn't have it, you can request for them to order it in for you, okay? Mine was empty for a while. Now it's stocked and full again. There are 5 different colorways, and we're using 5 different stitches, and that's why we called it the 5-spice throw blanket. All right, let's recap just a little bit. Step 1 was the solid foundation double crochet and 5 rows of our granny stitch. Step 2, row of double crochets and 5 rows of our cross stitch. Step 3, row of double crochets and 5 rows of our front post back post texture stitch. Stitch 4, or step 4, we did a row of double crochets and then 5 rows of that fun triple crunch stitch. So today is step 5. Super excited. And we're going to be doing what I'm calling front loop, back loop, third loop fun. Another really long name. And basically it's sort of a study in the loops. We're going to be doing that row of double crochets, and we're going to be doing some front loop, back loop, and third loop work. Don't panic. It's not hard at all, and it makes lovely textures. And for today's video, we're going to be using our 5th ball of yarn. This is Teal Stripes. It's a beautiful yarn. It has white and then 3 different shades of teal in it. All right. Now, just a reminder, if you want to see all of the videos, and that's going to include Monday's video because that's when we're going to finish up and do our trim on our blanket. All of those videos are placed in a YouTube playlist on my YouTube channel. Just look for, I think it says PW, which stands for Pioneer Woman, 5-spice throw blanket. And it is a playlist, and all of the videos for this will always be there. If you don't have time to get to this right now, it's okay. Don't panic. That playlist will always be there for you. Another thing is, underneath this video and all of the videos for the 5-spice throw blanket, there is a link that takes you to the blog. And on that blog, each day I'm adding the new pattern, lots of new pictures, so that you can go and look at it. Sometimes it's good to have the written pattern so you can look at it as you watch the video. And sometimes it's kind of nice just to have those still pictures as well. All right? And so you can click that link and it will give you all the information that you need for making it wider, for making it longer, and all of that information, multiples, probably more information than you could possibly use. But I want you to have everything you need so you can make this blanket, because it's a really easy blanket, but when you're switching stitches and things like that, sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. And we don't want this to be confusing. We want it to be super duper fun. So this is the swatch that I've been using. And I want to say that this is a nice width if you want to make a scarf. Maybe you don't want to commit to a whole big blanket, but you want to learn some of these stitches. You could do the same thing and just make it into a scarf. All right, just for fun, I thought I would share that with you. All right, so let's recap what we did one more time. Foundation double crochet row, 5 rows of our granny stitch. Foundation double crochet row, 5 rows of our cross stitch. Foundation double crochet row, 5 rows of our front post back post stitch pattern, and then a row of double crochets again, and 5 rows of our triple crunch. I know, I keep thinking it sounds like cereal. Sounds yummy. Now you'll notice this is in this coral color because the blue that we used on the blanket is just too dark and really hard to see those stitches. And the crunch stitches, it's one of the one that was a little more complicated, and so I wanted you to be able to see those stitches. So make sure you did part 4, step 4, in that blue color. All right. So today we're going to be using this one. This is the acrylic yarn, of course, Pioneer Woman Teal Stripes. All of the information for the materials, what you need, hook size, and all of those things are in step number 1 video, so that you can go back there. It's also on the blog link if you just want to click that link underneath the video as well. All right. So today we're going to be doing our front loop, back loop style stitches. I think you're really going to enjoy this. So after we did our 5th row of our crunch stitch rows, we do not chain 3 because again, we're changing colors. And bringing in our new color and chain 3. And then I'm going to tie just that little stay knot. It's not a knot that's going to hold forever. It's just to keep it from coming unraveled. So I just take the 2 and just tie a little stay knot. Now, one thing to remember, if you're doing your rows correctly with the right amounts, all of your ends are going to be over here on this side. You won't have any on this side, all right? Because we do a foundation row or a row of double crochets. Only the first row was a foundation double crochet. All the other one is just a row of double crochet for a foundation to each color change. All right. Okay, so we've chained 3. We're going to turn our work. And again, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. And so we're going to double crochet in that next stitch. And then we're going to double crochet in each of those stitches across. All right. And this, I like to do the row of double crochet in between the stitch changes because I think it does give it a nice foundation for us to begin on. And it's also a good way for us to make sure that we didn't lose a stitch or gain a stitch on those texture rows. All right. And so again, you're going to need to have 110 double crochets on this row. All right. Unless you've added, if you added width, make sure every row has the same amount of stitches. And of course, you're working off of my swatch here. And so mine's going to have a lot less stitches than yours. But this is row 25. And we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those stitches all the way across. I have completed that row of double crochets, and again, I'm working off a swatch, so I have a lot less stitches than you. And when we do our last double crochet, we're going to only chain 2 and turn our work. Now we're going to be doing what's called working in the back loops only. All right. So when you look at the top of your work, you have loops on this side and loops on the back side. The front loops are the loops that are facing you. The back loops are the ones that are facing away. All right. So our chain 2 counts as our first half double crochet, and we're going to stitch a half double crochet in each of the back loops, working all the way across. In case you're not aware of what the half double crochet is, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops. 1 half double crochet in each of the back loops, working all the way across. And you'll know you're doing it correctly if you get this indentation right in there. That's exactly the way it's supposed to look. 1 half double crochet in each of the back loops, working all the way across. I have stitched a half double crochet in each of the back loops across, and you can see that ridge right there all the way across, and those are the loops we didn't stitch in. When you get to your last two, you're going to half double crochet, not double crochet in those last two. Now this last one is the chain, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to stitch that half double crochet. So now we're going to chain 3 and turn our work. Now we're going to be doing what's called stitching in the third loop, and we're going to do it from this side of our work. All right, so let's look at what we've got here. Here's all of our loops on the top. We have a back loop, a front loop, and then we have this loop that goes across here. And what we're going to be doing is stitching our double crochet in that third loop. All right, so our chain 3 will count as our first. There's the back loop, the front loop, and here is the third loop. And that's where we're going to be placing our double crochets. Okay, let's do a few of these, and then I'm going to show you how that looks on the front, because this is the back of our blanket. All right, so we're still stitching double crochets on this row, and we're stitching in the third loop. Okay, so there's the back, there's the front, and here is the third loop, working on the front of what we're working on right now. All right, so this looks, normal on this side, but when we turn it over, what happens is it makes this beautiful braid of loops across. All right, and that's why we're stitching in that third loop. Basically, we're just pushing those 2 loops forward, and it makes that it's not really a braid, but it sort of looks like one. All right, so we're going to stitch in that third loop on each of our half double crochets going across. We're stitching double crochets in the half double crochets, working in that third loop. Again, you'll know that you're doing it correctly when you turn it over and you see that beautiful row right there that looks like a braid going across. So this is how it looks on the back side where we were working in the third loop. Now we're going to go ahead and chain 2 because we're doing half double crochets on the next row. And then when we turn it over, you can see that it has that beautiful row right there that sort of looks like a braid across. All right, I love that effect. It's really pretty, and it looks really nice on hats and scarves, and of course on blankets. All right, now we only chain 2 because we're going to repeat what we did down here and stitch a half double crochet in the back loops only. One half double crochet in each of the double crochets, working in the back loops only. And again, you'll have that little indentation or ridge on the top, indentation in there, just like we did right here. And you may notice that it kind of comes in a little. It's okay. What happens is with this stitch, it sort of flares out, and then in the next stitch, it kind of pulls in. But don't worry about that. Once we put that trim on, it'll lay nice and beautiful. All right, so let's continue on across, stitching one half double crochet in each of the back loops, working all the way across this row. I have completed row 28, stitching a half double crochet in each of those back loops, working all the way across. Isn't that pretty how that lays? It's just so pretty working in those different loops. So now what you're going to do is you're going to repeat row 27, which was our double crochets working in the third loop, and then you're going to repeat row 28, which is the one we just did, half double crochets in the back loop only. So you repeat this row and this row one more time. I have completed another row of double crochets working in the third loop, so I have that beautiful braid right there, and then one row of the half double crochets working in the back loops only. And I know this one seems a little more complicated in that we have to find that third loop, but once you do that, and once you get used to doing it, you'll probably want to do it very much often and often, because look how pretty this texture is. Wouldn't that be beautiful on a scarf or maybe a bag or a hat? It can be used for lots of different things, and of course, a blanket. And that's kind of what I wanted to accomplish with this particular sample blanket, is maybe come up with some new stitches that aren't popular that much, and not your typical shells and V stitches, which I do love both of those, by the way, but I wanted to do some different things, but I didn't want them to be super hard. I wanted it to be easy and fun. All right, so now we have made 5 different stitches on our blanket. So what you're going to do is you're going to repeat those. So we did row 1 through row 30. And what you're going to do is you're going to repeat row 1 through row 30, double crochet row, granny stitches, double crochet row, cross stitches, double crochet row, front and back post, double crochet row, triple crunch stitches, double crochet rows, and our loop stitches. That's row 1 through 30, and you're going to repeat that 2 more times. Now, if you want to make it even longer, you can repeat it as many times as you would like. For the size that I made, which comes out to 36 by 48 inches, you're going to need to repeat rows 1 through 30 2 more times. That's your assignment over the weekend. You don't really have to get it done over the weekend, but on Monday, I'm going to show you how to weave in your ends, put a trim around your whole blanket, and then put that fun, what I'm calling Tipsy Granny trim. It makes a really nice finish for this blanket. Well, let me grab the actual blanket so you can see what it looks like on the blanket. So here is rows 1 through 30. All stitched up. And then, of course, I repeated that 2 more times, ending up on the front loop, back loop, third loop rows. All right, so I repeated rows 1 through 30 2 more times, and then I did a half double crochet trim all the way around, and then this fun Tipsy Granny trim. And we're going to learn how to do this on Monday, as well as how I think is the best way to weave in the ends when you're joining on the ends of our rows. All right, so I'll see you Monday. Get your homework done. Don't worry, that video for the trim will be there whenever you get done and are ready for it, okay? Don't panic, as I always say.